I know almost everyone in the room, but not quite. So my name is Terra. I'm the executive chef here at the Folk School, and this week I'm teaching a class, so I'm playing a little bit of hooky, which has been a lot of fun. And we'll talk about what the class is in a little bit. But I was asked to do a talk about Folk School connections, and this is not close enough. There, I know that's not where it goes, but this is, of course I'm going to think about it through the lens of food. It's the only way I see, that's how I know how to take care of people, is to feed them. I have no idea what else to do. I'm like, oh, you're sad, let me cook for you. Honestly, that's all I've got. So I'm going to start with a story. When I was thinking about going to culinary school, but I wasn't there yet, I still lived in Mobile, my parents came to visit me for Thanksgiving. And it was the first time I had ever cooked Thanksgiving. For my whole life, it had been my mom. And it was always very exciting. Mom would get really, at time to put the food out, she'd get really, really worked up. And the other thing about my mom is she always had this secret dream of opening a restaurant. It wasn't that secret, but it was a pipe dream. And then I went into cooking, and she would talk about opening this restaurant. So we're at Thanksgiving one day, and things are going bad, right? She's like, oh my God, there's lumps in the gravy, and the thing's not working. So she's screaming and hollering and telling everybody what to do. Go do this, go do that. Oh my God, you have to, right? And all of this horrifying sounds coming out of her voice, and I'm just running around, I had been cooking for a little bit, so I'm just trying to get things done, and we get the food out, and she goes, I'd be a good chef one night, and I was like, oh, I'd kill you if I worked for you, there's no way. You start losing your mind like that, it's just going down. So I'm at my crappy first or second apartment, and Allison and I had been living there for, a couple of years, and Mom and Dad come down, and I put the food out, and I'm so proud, right? I'm just budding cook, and I'm like, oh, it turned out really well, right? And my mom, I think she was pretty competitive. I'd come by it honestly, right? And so she's looking for something wrong, and she sees a mistake with the rolls. Well, Allison is my protector, right? So she kind of mama bears, and she's like, I'm gonna find something perfect. So she's looking around what is the perfect thing on this table? And it turns out the really exceptional thing that year was my pumpkin pie. I made my own dough, the custard was good, and Allison goes, did you see how perfectly even this pie dough is? And I swear, in my whole life, that was the only one. And Mom concedes. She's like, it is a really nice pie dough. And I think she felt bad about the rolls. So we get the compliments, and everything's cool now. And pie is very important in my family, especially on my dad's side. And my Uncle Tommy, great Uncle Tommy, who I never met, married this woman, Joanne, who I also never met. And yet they're very important to me. My dad's side of the family is very clannish, and they're like, if you married in, you're not really family, right? We'll tolerate you. So they hated Joanne. I have no idea why. And Joanne shows up at this family function with a pie. And it is a really, really good pie. And so everybody's like, all right, well, we'll take it. We can put up with her as long as she keeps bringing pie to these things. So my grandmother learns her recipe. And again, I never met Uncle Tommy. I never met Aunt Joanne. So as far as I know, my grandmother's the one who's been cooking this recipe for my entire life. And she's a pie queen. She did make a good pie. She taught me a lot about making pies. And she taught me Aunt Joanne's recipe. So my parents leave this Thanksgiving, and they go up to Michigan for Christmas. And they tell my grandma, you better watch out. Tara's coming after you. She's got a really good pie game. And I had no idea that conversation had happened. And so the next time I see my grandmother, She says, your parents said your pie is better than mine. And she was offended. I mean, she was still months later. And it was a great, very vindictive experience for me. But it was really funny. We talked about the pie, and we agreed that we both just followed the recipe on the side of the can. So probably my pie wasn't actually that much better than hers. And we were both able to walk away with a draw, and it was all good. But now I cook Thanksgiving very differently. It's been a major evolution, and some of it is I got to go to culinary school, so I learned a lot about cooking, and I cook a little more refined than maybe Mom knew how to do. And the other thing is who I share my Thanksgiving with has changed drastically. We used to, it was just me, Mom, Dad, and my brother. And we'd have this huge feast, but just the four of us. Now I share Thanksgiving with all of my neighbors, often their families, any friends, and local folk school orphans is what I call them. The people that are here, work studies, host, that just don't have a family to go to for Thanksgiving, all come to our house, and we'll have 30, 40 people and do Thanksgiving. But I realized what makes that special to me, besides spending time with people I care about, of course, is it connects me back to my mother, who cooked it for years and years and years, where I learned really how to cook. Back to my grandmother, who was the competitive pie lady, but also taught me how to make pie. And back to an aunt and uncle that I never even met. And I just found that to be just really exciting about Thanksgiving. So I spent a week. It's a big deal. So that's part of what food does to me, is it connects me and us to each other, and then also to a bigger global community. So I made a dish. We made a dish. I enslaved my students for about 20 minutes a day to make this dish. Would you mind passing those out? This does contain bacon and gluten. Just forewarned, just forearmed. And this is a dish that's called, this is a dish that's called bread and dance. And it's a dish from St. Helena Island, which is one of the most remote islands on the planet. It's where Napoleon died. It's that remote that they exiled him there. But this is a dish they use when they celebrate. And I saw it, and I chose it for a few reasons. One is, anytime I take a class, I want to learn too. And so we've done several dishes this week that I've never done before. And I've learned a lot. The second is, you can't talk about the folk school and not talk about music and dance. And so this, as a celebration food, was just very appealing for the tradition there. And third is really cheap, so, we probably spent like $6 on that, so, which is great, because it is something that's very approachable and something that we can share. So, I also like that basically it's a tomato sandwich, and who isn't feeling good about a tomato sandwich? So this week, I think I'm ready to jump forward. Yes. I love you, Lillian. This is. You texted me that. So this week I'm teaching my Global Dishes class, and it is wholeheartedly focused on what makes us alike through food versus what makes us different through food. So the idea for this class, the whole concept is every culture has their version of some similar dishes, whether it's flatbreads, rice and beans, dumplings. There's a cultural, but they're all essentially the same technique that each culture has developed either through interacting with each other and learning from each other, or through having to problem solve on their own and ended up with similar solutions. So, so this is last year's and this year's class. And then let's skip one more. And this is the first dish that we did this week is flatbread. So we made two kinds of tortillas, naan, pita, what else is behind me? Since my whole class is here. Fry bread. And those are just a small sample. I heard lavash, and there are a gazillion other ways to make a flatbread pizza. But we all have come to the idea of if you take a porridge and you put it in a pan, you end up with something like yummy that you can put other stuff on and eat, right? And it's a very simple way to feed ourselves. So I feel like every time we eat, we're connecting to the world, everyone in the world. On a more regional level, our food is very distinctly different. If you think of Appalachian food, a lot of times you're going to think about pork, collard greens, grits, beans. But all of our food that we eat here in the South has also been influenced by the rest of the world. Through Europe, we have Spanish, French, and English very directly in this area. In other parts of the country, it might be more German. We have Native American influences on our food, and we have African influences on our food. In more modern times, we're starting to see more of an influence through Mexican cuisine. Mexican food can be very distinctly Mexican food, right? But it's been Americanized even at the Mexican restaurant. But also, what barbecue restaurant doesn't have a taco on it, right? So that we're assimilating other cultures into our food. Asian food is starting to make a difference in the way we season our food. And there's a lot of those solving problems connections with Southeast Asian food and Southern food. I mean, we like a little bit of funk and we like a lot of acid in our food. We just approach it a little differently. Here at the Folk School, that's pictures from the mentorship that I did. Kelsey was a student in an Appalachian foodways mentorship where we learned she spent 1 week learning about butchery, and then she spent a week learning about preserving food. We dehydrated, canned, pickled, all kinds of things. So she now comes here and teaches a preservation class from what she learned when she was in that class with me, which is really great. And then on our next, we can leave that there for a second. So here at the Folk School, we very deliberately foster connection through food by having family-style dining. People are so scared, and I was too. The first time you walk in on Sunday night and you sit down at this table with a bunch of strangers, and it is a terrifying experience. And I get it. I know nobody believes this. I know you don't believe me. I am so shy. And I will not, if you put me in a room full of strangers, I will not be the one to initiate contact. I'm going to stand in the corner and nurse my drink and stay out of the way. So I know those people are coming in because I was one of those people that come into the dining room. And what I found is once you do meet that first person, then it's a completely different experience at the Folk School. So I see connection every day in the dining room. and I see people start what you can tell will be a lifetime friendship. And it can happen over eating our country fried steak at Sunday dinner. So if you see someone, those of you that come here often, if you see someone who looks like maybe they're kind of being rude and off-putting, they're not. They're just shy. So go up to them and say hi and be the first one to welcome them into this really awesome place that we all get to share. One of my favorite memories in the dining hall, a few years ago we had some trouble and the whole staff walked out. And so I stepped in. It happened to be the summer when I was off at school. And I stepped in and I worked easily 100-hour weeks. I was kind of coming in at 6 in the morning and I was leaving at about 11 o'clock at night. And that was just about every single day. I think that summer I had 3 days off. I made a lot of money, it's okay. It could have been worse. But I was exhausted. And I walked out, it was my turn to clean the dining room, and our former executive director was washing dishes, and I think there might have been one other person in the kitchen. And so I was cleaning, and I look up, you know that porch that overlooks the Crown and that field? I see 3 women sitting there, and 2 of them are teaching a third how to play the ukulele. And I just stopped and absorbed it for a solid 3 minutes. I just stared at the 2 of them. I thought it was so great to see this is what we do, is we create these opportunities for these moments of learning and connection, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. So it helped me remember that, yeah, I was exhausted, but what I was doing was creating the space for other people. And that helps me remember when things get hard in our dining room, that's what it is that we're doing. And I see it all the time. I mean, I can see people, when they leave on Friday, they're tired, but they look like they found something while they were here that they didn't have on Sunday. So that's always an exciting thing. So I often compare the dining hall to a beating heart. We're there, right? We're always there. Somebody comes in at 6 o'clock in the morning. Often we don't leave. I mean, 9 at night is a great night. Sometimes it's 11 or midnight. And we're doing our thing, and nobody notices unless there's a problem. I'm not going to say, like, we get a lot of compliments. I'm not saying nobody ever notices us, but it's easy to overlook because you get used to it. But I find it really gratifying when I see my staff, get to interact with other staff or students and make those connections too. So here we have, that was the photo shoot from when we got our new uniforms last year, and that was a lot of fun, but not all of these faces are still with us, but most of them are. And if you skip to the next, these are some former staff that used to work at the dining hall. On the left, we think that's Alice Tipton. On the right, that's Steve Cipriano. I don't know how long he's been gone, but it's been a while. In the middle, I don't know those ladies' names. We don't know those ladies' names, but we know they worked in the dining room. Go ahead and go to the next one. Here's our staff now. That's Cindy on the left and Joey on the right. Scrub-a-dub-dubbing. He's very good at it, and he seems to enjoy it. We can go one more. And this is the dining room, present day, ready to serve. I think we can skip that too. Oh, and then another old picture of the family dining, and what's his name? I forgot. John Ramsey. And then on the right is Don Shoemaker, who left us about 2 years ago, give or take. But he's still kicking. Okay, let's skip ahead. And the other place I get to connect is in the classroom. So again, those are some pictures from our Global Dishes class. What I like teaching just as much as I like being in the dining room, but it's a very different experience. It's more intimate. In the dining room, I see everybody buzzes by me real quick, and I might see them for 5 minutes, once or twice a day for a week. In the classroom, I get to spend hours and hours with people, working with them, and see them change, learn the technical details, and maybe we'll be friends forever, and maybe we'll be friends for a week. But either way, we have that time where we're really connected together, and I find like that's really important to me, and I think everybody feels that. I think this class particularly seems to be feeling that. And the young lady is Millie. She works in the dining room, and she was my student at Tri-County, and I just take her everywhere with me. And I'm going to keep taking her with me. One of the other things that happens when I'm in the classroom is I think about the people who taught me. When I'm standing there explaining how to make rice pilaf, I see Chef Tawny telling me how to make rice pilaf. And so I had this chef, Tawny. He was an Israeli guy, and I took, I don't remember, French classical cuisine or something with him. I hated this man with a passion. I really I'd come home and I'd tell Allison what a jerk he was, how he's always picking on me, why is he so mean to me, and he would just give me a heart like nothing I did was ever good enough. So on the last day of class, we're wrapping up and we're all standing around because we've finished cleaning, and he says, well, what classes are you taking? And we go around the room, and it gets to me and I tell him, and I'm taking only classes with this guy the next semester. And I'm thinking, God, I don't think I could do this, right? And he says, oh, you're gonna be sick of me. Ha ha ha, right? And I'm like, dude, I'm so sick of you already, right? So I didn't, I was good, right? You don't burn bridges. So the next semester, I'm in class with him all day, every day. I fell absolutely in love with this man. It changed. Something changed. I started to learn his sense of humor. He started to realize that I wasn't really a screw up. And so we started treating each other a little bit more respectfully. And we grew to have a really, really close relationship. He helped me learn how to teach. He was the one that said, you know, when you were a student, you didn't have patience for people who weren't that quick. And he was right, I didn't. I was like, come on, get your crap together, let's go. He said, when you're the teacher, you don't get to do that, right? And that was a really good, straightforward lesson that I needed to learn as a 30-year-old who thought she knew everything. I didn't think I knew everything at 20, but at 30, I really did. So one day, he teaches me how to make hummus. And he was Israeli, so it was really important to him to have really good hummus. And so we must have spent 45 minutes together making the most perfect bowl of hummus you've ever had in your life. And now, every time I eat hummus, every time I teach hummus, that's who I think of. And it's not just him, not this general, no Chef Tawny, it's that moment of standing together and connecting over some hummus, right? So will you move? So these are the people that have taught me on a professional level. Tawny is the guy on the top over here. Then Ron and Anita taught me how to work in the dining room. Joe ran the school that I went to. Chef Charles ran the catering company I worked for. Chef Zeke is on the bottom. Those of you I was telling the metric story, metric system, that's him. And then on the top is Jess and Adam. I worked for Adam, and Jess and I worked together when we taught. So these are some of my mentors who influence how I interact with all of you. The folk school also, not just me, but the folk school generally, We work to connect with our local community in a lot of different ways through food. Working with Jason and the work studies in the garden has been one of the greatest experiences. I've never had my own gardener before. I mean, I've done the work for local food, but I've never had somebody that worked so closely with me. It's been fantastic. So on the left you have local teenagers who were working on a tomato, that was the tomato, what's the word I'm looking for? Tomato trellis system. And then more modern, we have some work studies. I don't know what they're planting, but we probably ate it, whatever it is. Okay, go ahead and skip one more. Another event that we do is our empty bowls, and every year we work, the pottery, local potters make bowls, we make food, and we do a big dinner, and everybody gets to walk away with their bowl and a full belly to help the local food banks. Last year we didn't quite hit $10,000, but we came pretty close for 3 or 4 food banks in the local area. Do I have another? No, that's the last one. Okay. So that's that's not the only thing we do. Another thing that Jason does is he sells excess food. If it doesn't go to a food pantry, our excess food from the dining room and excess food from the garden are both sent to food pantries. And then we also, Jason will sell produce that we can't use on campus to the farmers markets through the Cherokee Clay Food Alliance so that we can distribute local food here in our county. So it's kind of a really great way to make sure that the people who are here get to experience some of what we get to offer. Yes, I made it to 30 minutes. Okay, so I do want to have you take 1 second, close your eyes, and think about the best meal that you've ever had. Who were you eating with? Keep your answers to yourself. We don't all need to know. Just kidding. How did you feel? And was it really about the food or was it about the people? It can be both. Okay, that is all I have. Does anyone have questions, comments? You don't have to. It's okay if you don't.
I just want to say that since you came, the food is much better. It is wonderful.
Thank you.
I really enjoy it.
I would give 100% of the credit to the people that work in there. I know I get my little 5%, but
Guidance makes a
yeah,
world of difference.
thank you. Yeah, I think they do a fantastic job.